You are taking a live look at LaGuardia Airport in New York. This is the site where an Air Canada jet that was carrying more than 70 passengers crashed into a fire truck while landing. The pilot and co-pilot on that Air Canada flight were killed. About 40 passengers and crew members from the jet from Montreal and two people on the truck were taken to hospitals. Some of them were seriously hurt. The good news there is most of them were released by this morning. But the crash happening late Sunday night. Again, this is a live look as you in video from last night, but the wreckage is still on the tarmac there. You could see it destroyed the nose of the plane where the cockpit was. I want to bring in Evan Brode. He is an aviation expert. He is joining me live via Zoom to talk a little bit more about this. Evan, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Aaron.
Absolutely. So, when you heard about this crash happening, what was your reaction and what has been your big takeaway as you've read about it throughout the day?
Yeah, thank you for having me on today to kind of give my little bit of insight on this accident. So late last night, around like 11:37, I received a notification on my phone of an accident happening at LaGuardia Airport. I immediately clicked on, and the notification actually guided me directly to the air traffic control tapes that was going on live at the airport. So I took a listen in and kind of got a good sense of what was going on. And now going through today, kind of reading through the news, kind of reading what's going on and what did happen last night, we are starting to get a bigger picture of actually what happened. So late last night, as I said, around 11:37 p.m., Air Canada Jazz CRJ 900 was landing into LaGuardia Airport from Montreal. It had I believe, just over 70 people on board. What happened was it impacted a fire truck as the fire truck was crossing the runway. And unfortunately, both pilots, both the captain and the first officer, were killed in impact, and then 41 additional people were hospitalized. The good thing is, though, that so far 32 of those people have been released, but this truly is a tragic event, and we do really feel for the victims and the victims' families.
Absolutely. And you mentioned you were listening to some of the air traffic controller traffic. The right before the crash, reportedly an air traffic controller was heard frantically telling the fire truck to stop. Roughly 20 minutes later, the controller saying, "quote We were dealing with an emergency earlier. I messed up." Close quote. So you hear that. It sounds like this is just a truly unfortunate case of human error at this point. Would that be your takeaway as well?
Absolutely. I mean, it's pretty much what it sounds like. Now, the important thing is let's not speculate. Let's try to keep it as factual as we
For
can.
sure.
The NTSB sent their GO team to the investigation crash site, and they will spend probably just over a year working on exactly what happened and ensure that this won't happen again. But to kind of give you a quick rundown of what happened, it was a United aircraft that was taking off on a separate runway at LaGuardia, and there was smoke in the cabin. Not a super, hazardous, crazy emergency, but it is an emergency that requires an emergency response. And so fire trucks and EMS were coming from the fire department, and they were cleared to cross the runway that the Air Canada Jazz aircraft was clear to land on. And I guess it was just an air traffic controller mishap, missed that the aircraft was landing because it was preoccupied with another emergency. At the last moment, realized, but unfortunately, at that point, it was too late.
Yeah, and I was reading as well. I found this part interesting too, Evan, is the fact that LaGuardia is one of 35 major airports with an advanced surface surveillance system that they designed to keep track of planes and vehicles crossing the airport, and that an alarm was apparently heard in the back of the air traffic control audio around the time of the crash as well.
Yeah, I heard that as well. And another thing, there's 20 additional major U.S. airports that have something called runway safety lights, which basically helps to prohibit instances like this. So there'll be red or green lights on the side of the runway if you are cleared to cross or not. The only thing I'm unsure of is if this actually applies to vehicles such as air traffic, or excuse me, such as fire vehicles or any airport vehicles itself. But if it does apply to those vehicles, either it wasn't working or the fire department wasn't able to use them correctly.
And you said it's going to take roughly a year for the NTSB to investigate. Are you able to give some insight on why these investigations take as long as they do?
Yeah, so on the surface, it probably sounds pretty simple, right? You listen to the air traffic control and you're like, okay, this is what happened. And yeah, it might sound that simple. And that actually, what I'm saying right now might actually be 100% what happened. But there's a lot that the NTSB has to go through. They have to go through all the recordings of the cockpit voice recorders, aircraft recorders. They have to interview all the air traffic controllers, interview passengers on board, witnesses, and so much more. They're going to take different parts of this aircraft and investigate it, right? Did the brakes work correctly? Did these things work correctly, right? And so the goal of the NTSB is to kind of create an overall picture of what happened and an example of what we can do to better prevent that in the future. And so that's probably what's going to take so long, right? Typically, it's 12 to 18 months we can probably expect. But within about a month, we can expect a preliminary investigation report, which kind of gives us some basic information.
Evan Brode, we really appreciate you taking the time. Thank you so much for joining us and lending your expertise this afternoon.
Have a good rest of your day. Thank you.